Hello, Wastelanders! Welcome to episode 20. We are 20 episodes in of the PIPCAST 3000, a radical Fallout and gaming news podcast hosted by me, Caedo Genesis, and my pal here,
BADCompanySarge.
So this is as I said, Fallout and gaming news podcast. We talk about the current gaming news and trends going on the past couple weeks. It's a bi-weekly podcast every other Sunday, yes. And we talk about the cool stuff that's happening and the games that we love so much and spend way too much time playing and making videos on and stuff like that, and hope to start a conversation with all of you. So to start, we have a tip of the day, and then we go over the topics that we're going to be covering. So what's the tip, Sarge?
Today's tip of the day is try and get yourself some healthy gaming snacks. Although it's nice to have a bag of sour cream and chive pretzels, or, I'm not looking at my desk, chocolate and orange cookies, these aren't always that good for your health. They're just the odd treat. Instead, get yourself like a nice bowl of fruit and nuts or something, or an actual thing of fruit next to you, so you can just have a banana whilst playing. Give you lots of energy, better energy than most of the junk food will do, and it'll stop you getting unhealthy and getting a horrible cold like what has happened to me.
We got a lot of news topics and a fun Fallout topic today. First is going to be the big chunk of news. We're going to be going over the new event coming up in Fallout 76. We're going to be going over all of the releases for October. I found a long list of game releases for October. We're going to talk about Doom Eternal's delay. We're going to talk about Encased, the post-apocalyptic RPG by Dark Crystal Games. We're going to talk about PlayStation 5. We're going to talk about the new Vive, the new VR headset. The Outer Worlds coming in 2 weeks, and Red Dead Redemption 2 system requirements for PC have been released as well. So we're going to be talking about all of those things, as well as our amazing Fallout topic, which has to do with DLC and expansions, and what are our favorites, and what we're going to go over like what each one kind of was. It includes Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4. And yeah, we're going to talk about our favorites and hope that you guys talk about yours while we're interacting about it. Last week's Fallout topic, I like these PIPcasts because there's like a long shelf life to the Fallout topics, not necessarily the news parts. Yeah. And I was actually thinking of swapping the two because of like the meat of the PIPcast that tends to come towards the end. But last week was the missed potential in Fallout games and stuff like that, and that was a really good topic from somebody from the subreddit, the Fallout subreddit, that I let them know that we used their topic, and they were grateful and stuff.
In which case, might I suggest, more work for Caedo, putting a poll in the top right of the corner of the video in the little card section where the audience can let us know if they'd prefer the Fallout topic at the start or the Fallout topic where it is after the news. So that way we know what all of you want as well.
Yeah, check the card on the upper right hand side if you're more actively listening to the PIPcast. There's going to be a vote for what you prefer, and I'll come check back in like by the next PIPcast, which is probably going to be a little delayed because the Outer Worlds comes out the day we record.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so we're gonna kind of do the same thing probably that we did with Borderlands 3 and like finish the game and then do a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, probably will depend on quite how long the game is as well. Like if it's 500 hours to get to the end, I don't think we'll be able to delay it that long.
I don't think it's actually that long of a game though, because they have so much choice related stuff. Anyway, we'll get to that later. Okay, so news stuff. Mr. Fallout 76 guy, why don't you, if you want, talk about...
Oh, I'm the Fallout 76 guy. I forgot.
Yeah. You are.
Yeah, I am still somehow the Fallout 76 guy. And there's a seasonal event coming to Fallout 76 called Mischief Night. It is starting at 12 PM EDT on October 29th and going until 12 PM EDT on November 5th. So you got like a full week of mischief, mwahaha. And it is a Halloween-themed event that's going to be taking place at the White Springs, a central location within Fallout 76. Now, there's a little Inside the Vault article, which will of course be linked down below, and in it we get told that Jess2R, an iBot that seems to have had a few wires knocked loose, is planning to gather up groups of devious dwellers to run wild at the White Spring. Gather with other troublemakers at the Mischief Pyre near the Springhouse Gazebo for an explosive tour of Resorts Park, cottages, and, of course, its immaculate courtyard. Give the guards a fright along the way by blowing up cars, expressing your artistic side on walls, and forking the lawns. That one sounds really bad. Among other activities. You can even stop by candy bowls at the cottages to try your luck for a delightful treat, or a nasty trick. However, it's all fun and games until the White Springs elite security force catches on to your mischievous deeds. They'll be on high alert during Mischief Night, so bring something to defend yourself and stop them from putting a damper on the festivities. Sounds fun. It's just a Halloween-themed event. It sounds like they're trying to replicate some trick-or-treating, which is a standard Halloween thing, I'm sure we're all familiar with.
Yes.
What I'm most interested by is the giving the gods a fright thing, by blowing up cars and expressing your artistic side on walls, plus the whole forking the lawns, which...
Yeah. I don't... I don't know how this is gonna go. Quick thing.
Yep.
I know this automatically goes into the skeptical side of things with me being kind of jaded about 76. I enjoyed it for a long time, and I also realized that at this point the game still needs a lot of things fixed.
Yeah.
But the performance at the White Spring, if I remember correctly, the game performance in general at the White Spring is already really bad. And they're putting an event there.
Yeah.
So my concern is that it's going to perform as badly, if not worse, than the Fashnacht event, which also did not perform great. And that had no NPCs at it to start with.
Yeah.
So this is me being the skeptical, worrisome guy of why did they decide that place in particular.
Adding on to that as well, it's also been, since the launch of the game, a relatively popular place to nuke.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, I've been seeing all the pop-ups on the Appalachian Explorers Discord about people on Reddit saying, hey, isn't everyone just going to nuke this place whilst the event goes on? Because the event is every hour on the hour. So anyone who wants to be at all annoying or grief or anything like that can nuke the thing. Survival mode got deleted as well, and I'm not saying first off that people who play survival mode are necessarily griefers. I've spoken to tons of survival mode players who are just nice people and just enjoyed the chance of killing other players and getting killed. But there's also definitely a large community of griefers who are mostly playing on survival mode and have now come over to adventure and are just looking to ruin people's days, and this gives them the perfect opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I had some show up at my camp one time.
Yeah.
And they had their mics on. I don't know if it was on purpose or on accident, but I definitely did not shoot back at them.
Yeah. There's a fair few people
because that would have been dumb,
who could really mess up this event, which sucks because it looks like an interesting event.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Meat Week, which we just had a repeat of recently, because that was just an event everyone could get involved in.
Yeah.
Seasonal events are needed in an online game like 76 to keep people interested and give you something different to do every once in a while. So a Halloween event makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
100%
and more things that everybody can do, which they're very clearly including again.
Yeah. Like, this is going to be a bit higher level than Meat Week, just because Meat Week was right by the starting location of the game. And this is in, a slightly dangerous area. Like, you can go there fairly early on, but there's a good chance you can die trying to reach the White Spring if you go there straight from the start of the game.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of players, like 99% of people, can go to the White Springs and be okay. So it's good to see. But, oh man. It does feel like there's just a chance for stuff to get messed up.
Go ahead.
Something I do like, to an extent as well, is apparently if you wear specific costumes, including some Atomic Shop ones, but also in-game ones, and stuff like the Fastnacht masks.
Thank goodness.
Yep. Then you get a bonus XP or loot or stuff. I'll be interested to see how that works exactly.
Yeah.
But I like the fact they're making clothing somewhat practical now, rather than the purely aesthetic thing it was. if it was purely Atomic Shop stuff, then there'd be another pay-to-win discussion. But because they've specifically said that costumes include the ones that you've found or crafted in games, one that you've unlocked in the Atomic Shop, and even Fastnac Mask, they're clearly stating that it's a wide variety of costumes. So I'm guessing, like the Halloween costumes you can find in-game, it's almost certainly going to include stuff like them. So I'm happy to see all of that stuff. And I'm guessing there's going to be a whole bunch of new themed rewards from this. Well, they even say there'll be new themed items. And I see a lot of posable skeletons from the looks of things. Yeah. So I think I know someone who's interested in that.
Yeah. So what else was going on? The Purveyor sale got unlocked for the community event or community goal type thing.
Yeah, there's been a community challenge, Project Clean Appalachia, which how's it pronounced?
Appalachia.
They set this Fallout game in a weirdly named place. Project Clean West Virginian location has. Well, there's been a thing for the past couple of weeks. Actually, it's I think it's ending on Tuesday. We've basically just been killing Scorched, which are a very generic and populous enemy in the game, and the original goal was to kill 8 million Scorched, and there'd be a sale on legendary items from the Purveyor, and then there's various stretch goals. I think the most recent one, final stretch goal is 35 million Scorched kills by October 14th. Then the sale will be 50% off all legendary items, which I'm looking forward to.
Yep.
And also, like, a couple of skins and icons are added in as well. These community challenges are another good thing. Obviously not as big as the seasonal events, which are huge new content, but the challenge is if they do these like once or twice a month for just a week or two, then it's something, it just gives players who have spent hundreds of hours in the game, like both of us have, it gives people like that just something to do. Which
something to work towards.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's needed in games. That's why a lot of single player games, like once you get to the 100% mark or get really close to finishing all the side quests or finish just the main quest, that's what this kind of thing is for. And it's darn near required for online games to have something like that going on. And with challenges and everything else that they have in the game to keep players invested, like that's kind of a step in the right direction. Yeah. Because they got a lot of competition at the end of the year, especially with the Wastelanders DLC coming up in between like big game releases. So speaking of game releases, you see what I did there? See that?
Yep, that was almost flawless.
That was almost flawless, except I pointed it out, so now it wasn't. We got a lot of games, but it's more so like re-releases on other consoles or remasters of games. Yeah,
there's like re-releases, remasters, and expansions.
Yeah,
that have been going on this month.
Okay, so October 1st, we've got Destiny 2 Shadowkeep expansion, and that already came out, but I hear good things. I feel like we should have had Tony Mo on here at some point to talk about it. Or I should have asked him about it. Former PIPCAST host, because he's one of the Destiny dudes that I know.
I was going to say Destiny 2 as well. You can get like the base version of the game and the first 2 DLCs free on Steam now. So as well as Shadowkeep coming out, just literally hundreds of hours of content are free. So if you want to play Destiny 2 but don't have any money to spend, you can do so. You just won't be able to get like the most recent updates.
Yeah, that's cool. That part's really cool. October 4th, Ghostbusters, the video game remastered, and Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint both came out. October 8th. Oh, we got a whole bunch on October 8th.
Yeah, October 8th was a busy day, but with games that a lot of which I haven't heard of.
Yeah, okay, so the Alliance Alive HD Remastered for PS4 and Switch. Concrete Genie. I heard good things about this one. It's a very artsy-looking PS4 game.
Okay.
I'm actually interested in checking it out. Indivisible, Trine 4, The Nightmare Prince, and Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Yooka-Laylee sequel, I'm assuming, or it looks like a sequel for October 8th. And then for October 11th, we have Grid. And for October 15th, we have Overwatch Legendary Edition, which I assume is the all-encompassing everything edition for the Switch. and The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt Complete Edition for the Switch, also
Yeah.
on October 15th. October 16th, Little Town Hero. October 18th, Digimon Story, Cyber Sleuth Complete Edition for Switch and PC. Kite was excited for this one because she has a Switch, wanted something else to play on the go, as if we really go anywhere. Also on October 18th, Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville. That's on PS4, Xbox, and PC. Ring Fit Adventure on the Switch for October 18th. And now October 22nd, we have WWE 2K20. I assume it's one of those that there's a new game every year.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Speaking of new games every year, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That's one of the big ones for October 25th. That comes out on, I think, all platforms except for Switch. Medieval. This is the remake of the PS1 game, as far as I know.
Yes.
And that comes out on the PS4. The Outer Worlds, which is what we're planning to cover and gush about and all that good stuff, that comes out on October 25th as well. We're on October 29th now. Disgaea 4 Complete Plus on PS4 and Switch. Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6 on Switch. And Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD on everything except PC. Vampire on Switch.
Vampire.
And Vampire, whatever. Yakuza 4 on PS4. Those are all October 29th. Then we have Atelier Ryza, Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout. That is a long name for a game. I'll put that out there right now.
It is.
PS4, Switch, and PC. And finally, Luigi's Mansion on Switch on October 31st as well. So there's a lot of games. I feel like we should do like a highlights thing instead. Like, that was just a long...
That was a long list.
A long list. And it's only going to get longer, like, in November, December, so... Yeah, so those are the games you can expect. Let us know in the comments which ones you are looking most forward to. Me, personally, is The Outer Worlds, obviously.
Yeah, I'm guessing Outer Worlds as well.
I would like to try Concrete Genie, though.
Here's the thing, there's a lot of games on here which I'm like, oh yeah, those are cool games, or those games I kind of like the look of, and it's all like, oh, Switch, PS4, Switch, PS4, oh, I have neither of those. It's just, yeah.
So, on to the rest of the topics. Sometimes games don't release on the time where they are dated, and instead get delayed, sometimes until the next year.
Oftentimes till the next year if it was planned for an end-of-year release.
Yes. And in that case, Sarge.
So the game we're obviously talking about is Doom Eternal, which has been delayed until 2020. Oh no, how has it been delayed for so long? 2020 is like a few months away at this point, so I don't think we've had a specific date on when have they added a new specific release date?
March 20th.
Oh yeah, March 20th, sorry. Which is like 4 or 5 months after it was supposed to come out on November 22nd. So it's a decent amount of time they've added on, to be fair. But it's literally, they've just said to live up to our standards of speed and polish. So the game obviously wasn't in a state they were happy with. The developers, I'm guessing, went, hey, big company who owns us, who's part of a huge conglomerate and stuff, are we allowed to spend a bit more time working on this so it comes out and is actually good? And they got the go-ahead, which is very good to see.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out that Mr. Manny Plays did a video on this, and he was giving Bethesda a little bit of props, not a lot, on allowing the developers to give themselves more time instead of just releasing it as is. Because past tells us that that's a bad idea and can tarnish the reputation of a publisher/developer.
Along with a whole bunch of other things going wrong at the same time.
A whole bunch of other things going wrong, yeah. But generally, when you say Fallout now, it's associated with Fallout 76 and the incredible amount of failures that happened during its release, and still, once off and on, depending on who thinks what is a failure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm very jaded on the topic, so I try not to let that bleed into the PIPCAST too much. But I had high hopes for Fallout 76, but I was expecting and hoping that it would be further along than it is at this point.
I had realistic hopes. and got pretty much exactly what I expected. Which is the case I get with most games, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even when I'm on the hype train, I'm never as hyped as everyone else seems to be. I'm the passenger
that's
quietly
good.
sitting there in the hype train, just not making eye contact.
I'm glad you have the self-control. And why you make such a good PIPCAST host. Going back to Doom Eternal's release, id Software has been one of the large, big, super duper developers under Bethesda the whole time.
Yeah.
Because they created Doom. They were basically the grandfathers of the shooter genre, and so they have that reputation to, I guess, keep, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And after what's happened already in the past year and a half or so, they want to maintain that at least. And I'm still hoping that id Software and Bethesda collaborate more on future Bethesda Studios games, and use the id Tech engine, please.
I mean, I kind of get what you're hinting at, because I was thinking to myself, imagine if instead of Fallout being developed purely by Bethesda, they got a whole bunch of the studios under them to help out as well. The shooting and just first-person gameplay from Doom put into Fallout with all of the actual RPG stuff that Bethesda people can do if they're not also having to spend all their time on the graphics and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I know a lot, we said that the Fallout franchise has been tarnished by 76, but if Bethesda went all out on what would be an incredibly expensive Fallout game to develop, where they got a bunch of their studios working on it at the same time, it could be one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah, it could. For context, the shooting mechanics, id Software helped out with the shooting mechanics in Fallout 4, and what is one of the main good parts of Fallout 4 is the shooting and the combat. It feels good. Yeah,
it's not the greatest combat game out there, but
right,
when you pull the trigger gets pulled, and you're like, "Yep, that felt right."
Among other more modern mechanics that were not in former Fallout games, like the corner peeking and stuff like that,
or cover peeking. 76 so much.
I don't know what you call it. Yeah, you can't do it in 76.
Yeah,
it's because it's online, no doubt. But yeah, I hope that in the future, there's more collaboration like that involved, because even though Rage 2 was not a critical success or anything like that, it was still a good game at its core.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun to play.
It just was a bit lacking in content when it came out.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, Doom Eternal is delayed, and I'm grateful that they're being given time to make sure the game is the way they want it to be, for the rest of us to enjoy. So that part's cool. Sarge shared with me a post-apocalyptic RPG that I was not aware of and didn't really research much after being shown it. So what is this RPG, Sarge?
Well, it is a game called Encased, which has been developed by Dark Crystal Games. It is currently in early access, but it is released into early access so you can buy it and stuff. And it's an isometric RPG, so similar to Fallout 1, Fallout 2, and those sorts of games. And I'm going to do a terrible job of explaining all the backstory and stuff. But there's been a big dome constructed by fancy corporations, by the Cronus Corporation, and they're like, hey, the dome's an amazing place where we got tons of workers digging up this old world, amazing alien-ish tech, isn't it amazing, and stuff. And then you find out, oh no, life inside the dome is horrible, because everyone's dying and getting murdered and stuff. Then I think nukes drop, I'm not entirely sure on this, and there's a post-apocalypse, and then you're just kind of uncovering this whole world, and the remnants of this giant corporation who are doing some very evil stuff. I don't know all the lore because I haven't played the game myself, because as we mentioned, there's tons of games coming out right now, so I just don't have the time for it. But it looks really cool, and if you're a fan of Fallout 1, Fallout 2, those sort of games, then this is definitely something you'll be interested in, because it is so inspired by those games. I'm actually going to check something. I'm pretty sure RPG Dark Crystals. Yeah, Tony Mo follows them as well, and I think he mentioned something or liked a tweet of theirs, and then I was like, oh wow, this looks like Fallout. I ended up following them and stuff, and I'm pretty sure they've actually liked a couple of my tweets where I've talked about Fallout before. They're obviously fans of that. And if you like old school Fallout, which I know, Caedo, you do, then
yes, I do. It's
totally your kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
visually, there's a lot of similarities. Story-wise, there's a lot of I can't say it, but they're close to each other. There's just tons of stuff.
There's a lot of things that you can do in Encased and enjoy if you enjoy classic RPG format games. And there's a lot. And the benefit of a modern classic RPG or classic format RPG is they have modern mechanics in them that kind of streamline the whole process, so it's not as daunting as going to, say, something like Fallout 1, which I made a bunch of guides on, and there's a very good reason for that.
Yeah, it's not the easiest to approach game.
Yeah, so I don't know, give it a look if you want. All these things we're talking about are linked down in the description. The news section is kind of segmented off from the rest of the topics, and then of course the topics have theirs too. So check them out. And the next thing is the PlayStation 5. We heard a lot of things about the PlayStation 5 in the past couple weeks.
I mean, you heard a lot of things about the PlayStation 5 in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, okay.
I've heard basically nothing, because there's been so much other news that
it's
just been swamped.
There's been a lot of things going on. I am a bit of a Sony kind of fanboy since my early experiences with consoles. So I, was drawn in interest to the PlayStation 5, particularly because I kept hearing rumors of backwards compatibility, full backwards compatibility, so I would only need one console in the future. Because currently I have the PS3 that is fully backwards compatible, PS3 and back, and then I have my PS4, which is just the PS4 and whatever re-releases or collections came out on the PS4 that I can play on it as well.
Yeah.
So I currently have two Sony consoles on my station, but I generally would like to only have one, right?
Yeah.
Even though the PS3 is awesome. But it's also a space heater, so I don't know. Anyway, PS5, it's going to be called the PlayStation 5. They revealed that, Sony revealed that, and they also talked about the haptic feedback on their controllers. It's going to work similarly to how cell phones have vibrations instead of how they used to do it with the rotating motor type thing. If I'm understanding this correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong. And ray tracing and solid state drives. This is going to be the first scenario, as far as I know, where a console has solid state drives, because PCs have been moving in that direction for a while, like at least the past close to 10 years or so. I want to say 10 years, close to at least 5. SSDs, my computer has all SSDs in it at this point, and I will probably never go back because solid state is amazing. The amount of time that it takes to access information. If I go back, when I was working a security job, when I would go back to using a computer with a regular analog piece of crap hard drive in it, that I would go back to that and try to access literally anything and be like, oh my goodness, this is so slow, because I'm spoiled with my solid state drives at home. Boot speeds are much faster, load speeds are much faster, like everything is faster. I look forward to what the PlayStation 5, their load speeds and stuff are like, because the games are going to be designed around that as well, and that is cool. I will also mention that if you get a solid state drive and you want to upgrade it, I know at least this is possible with the PS3, is I put a solid state drive in my PS3 instead of the like laptop sized hard drives that you can put in them. And a lot of the load and save speeds are much faster in it, but it's not designed to use that kind of hardware, so there's some things that still just load normally. But yeah, PlayStation 5, looking forward to it. They didn't do like a big video presentation. They did more of a just like sprinkling announcements type thing. So we have yet to see a lot of other details in relation to like being shown how it works and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Also, the fact it's been a bit of a sprinkling announcement, plus it's happened at the same time as a bunch of other gaming stuff has been really brought forward to general consciousness, means that you are the third person I have heard mention that PS5 even exists. I'm sure I'm a bit in the minority here, and there'll be plenty of people who are aware of it, but it does feel like until a bigger announcement comes out for it, it could end up kind of getting swept under the rug with all the other stuff that's happening. Including
another release that is awesome, and only particular people really think about or pay attention to, and that's the Vive Cosmos. It's the newest release of the Vive VR headset. And I play VR myself. I played some yesterday. And I also love that VR is becoming a kind of mainline technology. A lot of bigger channels are covering it because, well, for one, Beat Saber is freaking awesome. And that's probably been like one of the main things that sells VR headsets, because it is so much fun, and I do keep going back to it. It's got the perfect mix of pick up and play, fun music to listen to, and you're active. That's one of the things that I personally worry about. Sarge, I feel like you can you can relate to that as well.
Yeah, gonna be sat in my chair for the next 8 hours.
Yeah, excuses to be active is always nice too. So the Vive Cosmos is a new 5-sensor headset that no longer needs its trackers that you mount on your walls to have kind of your working box kind of thing when you're playing VR, because you have sensors set up on your walls, and then you have the headset itself and then the controllers, and it kind of like tracks where you are in the room based on all of those things, like you calibrate it and everything like that. But it takes out the sensors entirely that are attached to your walls, and it's just the headset and the controllers. And it sets up, I'm sure it sets up the room that way too. But the fact that you're now able to do that, and there's also the wireless setup that you can mount on the headset, which makes it extremely heavy, by the way, that makes the entire setup wireless, which blows my mind still on its own, because I'm used to hooking up to my computer to play the Vive through the headset and stuff like that. So all of that is really cool. The way it sounds, I still haven't looked at a review for it, but the way it sounds is something I would greatly consider in the future if I start doing more VR-based things. I have no idea if I would on my channel, to be honest, but if I were to go that direction, it would be something I would strongly consider getting. And locally, there is on the same topic, there is a VR kind of arcade. It's more of just like a VR experience kind of thing, where they have, I think, 4 or 5 VR setups. You walk in, you like, hey, I want to play for a little bit. It's 4 minutes for $5 or something like that. Okay. And I jumped in there and played some Beat Saber, and then that immediately got me back into it. I wanted people passing by to be interested too, because VR is awesome, and having it accessible in the mall like that, just being like, dude, you gotta try it. You gotta try it. It's like, it's better than the arcade. So that gave me a little test of the Vive Pro too, which is a much heavier setup than the one I have too. So if you have access to something like that, like if you have like a Best Buy where they have a VR setup, or even though I call it Best Cry, if you have a mall nearby with a VR setup, give it a try. Just give it one try and see if you like it. Or if you have a friend that has VR setups, like I invite people over all the time just to play VR for their first time, because I like seeing their reaction and also converting somebody else over to enjoying VR.
I have yet to play VR at all.
That's why you have to come over, Sarge.
Because absolutely nowhere near me has VR, obviously, because I'm in nowhere. But I figure in like 5 years' time, when I probably will play a VR game for the very first time, I am looking forward to what the technology will be like just as standard for them. Because obviously, right now, the Cosmos is like the brand new thing where it's like, hey, you don't have sensors on the wall or wires. But give it like 5-10 more years, and the headset will hopefully be a lot lighter, everything will just be more precise. Hopefully something to deal with the people who get like motion sickness and stuff from using it. It looks like everything is taking steps in the right direction. And although the Cosmos itself I'm not at all excited for, I'm excited about the fact that VR is just improving, and hopefully one day will be like we used to see in movies. Just an awesome, easy-to-use thing that puts you in an entirely new world.
Definitely. I did want to mention the motion sickness thing, though, too. It's that it goes away over time if you're playing open world games where you actually move your character around, because that's what causes the motion sickness. It actually does go away over time. You just need to give yourself short bursts of that, and then eventually, you'll be able to do it without, a lot of the like motion sickness prevention settings active at the same time. Fallout 4 VR was like the worst. It gave me the worst motion sickness at the start because they have the teleport command, but they also have the movement controls that you can use. And I chose to use the movement controls because that's how I'm used to playing the game. And I got so motion sick the first couple times because I wouldn't stop playing. I was like, I need to get further kind of thing. But give yourself breaks in between if you decide to play games with a lot of motion like that, and you'll get used to it. Is the thing. It's like developing sea legs if you're like on a boat or something like that. But obviously you can't just stop the boat. So you're at an advantage when you're using the headset. You could just take the boat off. If I'm following the same metaphor.
And the Cosmos, something they pointed out in the trailer is you can now just like flip up the headset to
that part's cool too.
Get out of it quickly, which is real nice.
I like that a lot, instead of just like essentially pulling your head off kind of thing. All right, so The Outer Worlds is in 2 weeks, and I'm excited.
Yeah,
I don't know.
This comes out on Sunday, so it'll be 12 days from date this is published.
Yeah.
12?
Less than 2 weeks, man.
Jeez.
Whoa!
Yep.
Are you ready to make videos on it?
Oh, I'm not going to sleep the next month if I want to get up to date. Yeah, so obviously Caedo and I will both be covering the game, so if you're excited for Outer Worlds, make sure you are subscribed to both of our channels, and you can click the notification bell as well, so YouTube will be like, hey, Caedo/Sarge just uploaded this video about The Outer Worlds and this amazing guide.
Because that was a fun discussion yesterday too.
Yep. And I will say as well, if you join either Caedo or my Discord, Caedo's is probably the better one to join, then you'll also get notifications on there when a video is uploaded by either of us.
Yes. Oh, Yes Man labels properly now. Ooh.
Yeah.
Sorry. Me6 is doing a thing, but the @here thing isn't working. I gotta set it to @everyone, I guess. But that's cool.
Yeah.
Put the Garcia shotgun guide up today for Borderlands 3. Almost done with Borderlands 3 content.
And I'm just getting started on it. Man, I've got some beautiful spreadsheets. Some beautiful spreadsheets.
Yeah, I have been told a little bit about said spreadsheets and numbers and cool stuff like that. Yep.
But anyway, something almost as exciting as spreadsheets is the game The Outer Worlds, which Obsidian are making, who are famed mostly for New Vegas. I always feel bad lumping them in with just the Fallout franchise, because although I know it's what most of the people who want the Outer Worlds are excited for, it's like, oh, it's the new Fallout game by the Obsidian people.
Yeah.
Always bugs me. Like, Obsidian made some great games as well. They made Tyranny not that long ago. And that was pretty cool.
Pillars of Eternity and Pillars of Eternity 2. Yeah. And they also made South Park: The Stick of Truth. I think that was the last, what do you call that? Licensed game they did?
Yeah.
For a long while, I guess.
Yeah. So I do like to bring up the fact that although The Outer Worlds is getting tons of eyes on it and stuff, the developers have been making great games for ages, and it always bugs me that the other games don't get anywhere near the support that this one has. Like, that's the worst thing about the Outer Worlds for me, which overall saying some good stuff, because the game does look good, and I'm very much looking forward to it. First-person shooter RPGs, totally my thing.
Yeah. I greatly look forward to it as well for the amount of stuff that there is going to be to cover, and the amount of playthroughs there's probably going to be.
Yes.
Because there's options to specifically put in place to make you want to play the game multiple times, like siding with factions and the benefits of said factions. Because you side with one, another one starts to dislike you.
Yep.
Kind of, man, I hate doing that association. Kind of how New Vegas works. The association, they started it. I want to mention that right now. Like, they started it.
Yes.
But I've mentioned it in previous PIPCasts that they kind of shot themselves in the foot because they used New Vegas and Fallout as like a basis for their trailer. Because now people, even people have had hands-on experience with it. At least I believe there have been.
Yeah.
People that have seen it or gotten a much more close look at it are saying things along the lines of, "Oh, it's New Vegas in space." No.
Yeah.
That's the association I beg all of you not to use, because it's like when Fallout 3 was compared to Oblivion with guns. While it's in the same engine, it's not at all the same feel or the same universe or anything like that.
Yeah.
So and RPGs on their own, like, can be compared here or there, but it doesn't need to be on the basis of a particular game, unless it's a Souls-like.
I was going to use that as an example of something not to do, which always gets done. Like, oh, this game's difficult, it's totally the Dark Souls of the franchise.
Yeah. Because, like, that one, sadly, I don't think it will die. I think
that
that's
one at least has become a bit of a meme, more than anything.
A genre of its own kind of thing. I was watching like new content on the Surge too, and everybody's just like, it's the Dark Souls of sci-fi games, or the sci-fi
the Surge
Dark
is
Souls.
actually one I can kind of accept the Dark Souls comparison, because it's got a very similar combat system.
Because it uses the same kind of basis: hard enemies, unforgiving combat, unforgiving rewarding combat, and exploration and somewhat of a narrative you have to discover on yourself or on your own. I think that's like the main chunks of the Souls-like genre. But that's part of the problem too. Like, I think roguelikes and roguelite genres they're all under the basis of one game too, which is a bit of a problem. But New Vegas and the Outer Worlds don't have that problem. They are just single-player RPGs. Which can fall under so many different things. So again, please don't make too many comparisons between New Vegas and the Outer Worlds, because they are very different games despite being single-player first-person RPGs.
Yeah.
So temper your expectations.
Let the game stand on its own 2 feet more than anything else.
Because that means... Sorry.
I was going to say, if you can just accept the game as the Outer Worlds, then it's likely going to offer you a lot more than if you think of it as New Vegas Space Edition.
Yeah. And increase its potential of getting a sequel.
Yes.
I think. Because if people... if there's... God forbid, if there's somebody who doesn't like New Vegas, and you use that as a comparison...
Yep.
And then that would turn them off automatically for playing the Outer Worlds. So, like I said, tempering expectations is important for a game like this, especially new IP. So, give them the best benefits of doubts, because their pedigree for creating games is actually pretty good. But don't raise those expectations too high, or become overhyped, because you could also become disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Outer Worlds, woo!
When you're on the hype train, just sit there quietly, and everything will be okay.
Do as the Sarge do, and relax. Take it easy. Okay, so the last newsy thing, it's not really a strong ending here, but
Oh.
Red Dead Redemption 2 system requirements for PC has been revealed, and the link is down below for that. It's going to require about, minimum, it's going to require 150 gigabytes of space. It's suggesting that you have a GTX 770 or an AMD Radeon R9 280 card, and a Core i5 or AMD FX 6300 to run the game, and Windows 7 or higher. So that's the minimum system requirements. And what people are most looking forward to are, if you play something on a console as opposed to PC, the possibilities are nearly endless for PC quality. So that's what I mean. I think this is a PC Gamer article, so of course they're most excited for it. But seeing what kinds of cool, interesting stuff like draw distance improvements, tessellated textures, high dynamic range supports, unlocked resolution for 4K and up, so you can have like an ultra wide screen. You couldn't do that on console. That kind of cool thing. And I just look forward to seeing like how much more pretty it can get, because I've seen gameplay of it on the PlayStation and it looks great.
Yeah,
but it's going to look better somehow. Like my brain doesn't think that far into details.
I mean, you can always have better graphic fidelity up to the point where you're having subatomic particles rendered, basically.
Yeah.
So things can always look better.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's mitigating amounts to all of it. Like, because Red Dead 2 does look so good, it looking twice as good isn't actually going to change that much on general gameplay, but great for photos and stuff.
Yep. So, if you're looking forward to Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC, I hope it's everything you wanted. We should go over like what the release day is for the PC version, I assume.
Nah, let people guess. Leave them comments below. When do you think it's going to come out?
It's up for pre-purchase now and will release on November 5th. It'll also come on the Epic Games Store, and there will be a Steam release in December. So, if that turns you off from the purchase too, it's just a warning ahead of time.
Yeah, that's only like a 1 month wait as well.
Yeah.
So, if you don't like the Epic Games Store, it's a very short wait to get it on PC. Yeah. Plus, you'll already have waited for it on PC because it's been out on console for ages. So, I'm sure you can wait the extra month, as it's not a big issue.
There's a benefit to waiting too, like waiting for patches to come out. For example, we've been playing Borderlands 3 since it launched, but we've definitely had some problems, despite the game being amazing.
Yeah.
That people who get it, in the future, who are waiting for it, aren't going to have to deal with, like bank wiping.
Yep. Guardian token bug, that's already been fixed.
Yep.
That was like a couple of weeks after launch, I think it got fixed. Yeah,
a lot of the rebalances for weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's gonna be more of those too. So Sarge, I like talking about Fallout with you.
Oh, it's good to hear. Man, if you didn't, 20 episodes of this, that would have been hell.
And I hope the rest of you in the comment section like hearing our conversations about Fallout and contribute as well, because we do like looking at what you have to say about the current topics and the stuff that the things happen do. Words. The discussion topic for Fallout type stuff is DLCs and expansions. I put ranked in there, but I don't. We're gonna go over.
Are we doing a top X Fallout DLCs?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Or we could refer to what you did.
Yeah. I recently made a top 5 Fallout DLCs. Please go and watch it, and if you do and aren't subscribed already, do subscribe from that video, because so far it has only lost me a subscriber and gained me none. Someone was not happy with the choices I made on my favourite DLCs.
Yeah. The mainline games are Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4 for when it comes to DLCs and the DLCs we have available. So, starting with Fallout 3, we have Operation Anchorage, which I believe was the first one, and it goes over the events that happened in Anchorage, Alaska, pre-war. You're going through like a simulated type thing.
Using future virtual reality.
Yeah.
Even more wires.
Yeah. And then the second one that came out for Fallout 3 was The Pit. And this one was quite cool. Sarge, it was one of your favorites, right?
Yep, The Pit is amazing. You go to post-war Pittsburgh, and there's a whole slaver versus raider civilization going on, and there's some really interesting moral choices at the end as well.
It's one of those with the gray decision making that I like very much in games, and that's part of the reason why The Witcher was so successful too, as a storytelling medium type thing. Yeah. And then after The Pit, we have Broken Steel, which is the you could call it like the director's cut / continuation of the story for Fallout 3.
Yeah, it's one that changed the ending from it being you have to die at the end to, oh wait, maybe like the super mutant who's immune to radiation should go into the radiation chamber.
Yeah, that made so many people mad the first time. Where there's two. Is it two? No, there's three. There's three companions that are completely immune to radiation that could just, turn off the thing.
Yep.
Or deactivate the Project Purity thing. Unscathed. And instead, yeah, it still goes under the assumption, like when Broken Steel starts too, that that you passed out from the radiation burst or whatever.
Yeah.
And Sarah also was like in a coma or something. Yeah. But overall, Broken Steel is like polishing off the rest of the enclave in the area, and because like there's a splinter faction that came out of it, and supplying water to the wasteland is now a thing. So you have like these Aquapura or water merchants traveling around between settlements and stuff like that, and you have new enemies that are huge bullet sponges.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was the other thing?
Level cap gets raised from
the level
20
cap
to
got
30,
raised.
which is really significant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a decision you can make at the end of the DLC, which is actually world-changing, which is kind of cool. Okay, so then you have Point Lookout. This is the least memorable to me, even though it's kind of fun to play. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the setting or the colors.
I mean, I agree with you completely, because I always forget this one even exists until someone mentions it.
And that's weird though too, because like
good.
Mothership Zeta is one of the. Anyway, I'll get to that in a second. Yeah. No bombs were dropped in Point Lookout, but it has nonetheless degenerated into a place just as unforgiving as the Capital Wasteland. So you have the swamp folk that live there. There's tribals that live there. It's so weird though, like, because the dynamics are there between factions, but none of it seems. Maybe there's no stakes. Maybe it just doesn't feel like there's stakes in anything. Like you're just there, you're trying to save someone's kid out of the countless people in the wasteland, most of which you've killed. Maybe that's part of it. But all in all, Point Lookout is still fun to explore and play in. It's just I think maybe narratively one of the weakest. And then speaking of weak, Mothership Zeta, that takes you out of the wasteland entirely, and into a UFO where you're fighting Zetans and you're working with the other survivors that most of which have been in cryostasis. So you make friends with a Japanese samurai and a Anchorage medic and a cowboy. It's like the old world blues, I think, or pretty close to it of Fallout 3.
Yeah, it's the weird, wacky one.
Yeah, it's weird and wacky, but it still takes itself weirdly serious. Like,
yeah.
I think that kind of may have been why it fell flat for me, because it didn't really make much for like alien probing jokes. It didn't really, like, they had audio logs everywhere, but it was just like, this person's being tortured, that's cool. Like, that's pretty much the one note that was happening on the audio logs. The unique gear was like completely out of place for the rest of the wasteland, so like Like, I liked wandering around with the samurai gear, but obviously I didn't fit in with anybody anymore. But it also came with a lot of really, really powerful items in the game. Like, that was the first instance of the alien epoxy, which is eventually turned into the repair kits in New Vegas, where you could just repair your weapon with it.
Yeah.
And one of the most powerful MPLX Nova Surge. That's like one of the most powerful energy weapons in the game, if you're able to get it.
Does make sense.
Yeah, but it was a plasma pistol too. Like, it wasn't even one of the alien weapons. Yeah. Anyway, the Mothership Zeta was interesting, and I guess let's start there. Let's start with Fallout 3. Everybody in the comments, please join in. What was your favorite Fallout 3 DLC? I kind of spilled out my opinions already a little bit when we were listing them off.
Yeah, I mean, mine is the pit out of all of those. Just, it tends to be somewhere I go to right at the start of the game as well, because it's one of those DLCs that strips you of your equipment. So, sure, having higher skills is nice, but if you've got god-tier guns and armor and stuff, does not matter one bit. And because there are so many grey moral characters in there, and there's a lot of like bad things you can do for minor rewards with consequences that aren't that bad either, I really like that. Because too often in games as well, when there are moral choices, it can be a case of, oh, you've done the bad thing, so something bad's going to happen to you, or, oh, you've done the good thing, so something's good going to happen to you. It felt like the pit was much more, well, we're going to reward and punish you for each of your decisions.
Yeah.
And I like that.
It felt like there was a good balance there for pretty much everything. Like, even the steel ingots, like you could blast through the DLC if you wanted to, but if you stayed in the steel yard and gathered up all the steel ingots, they made it actually worth it.
Yeah.
And Point Lookout didn't really have anything like that. Operation Anchorage kind of did. They had the 10 intel things, but they didn't make it worth it at all. You got like one of the worst perks in the game. Mothership Zeta, did that have collectibles in it? I don't remember.
Not that I recall.
Besides the unique gear. And one of the problems with Mothership Zeta, though, too, was you couldn't go back to anywhere, like, once you've explored that section of the ship. Like, a lot of the places just locked down entirely, like, once you're done with Mothership Zeta. So there's really not much reason to go back, except to the bridge to talk to your weird, like, historically misplaced friends. And then, of course, Broken Steel just added to the game, so, like, there was just more to do.
I always kind of forget Broken Steel is even a DLC.
Because it just seems like the actual game at this point. Like how it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm with you on the pit. I'm kind of split between the pit and Broken Steel, because I liked, taking the fight to the nuclear platform kind of thing, and taking down the rest of the Enclave. I know that the Enclave were like shoehorned into the Fallout 3 story anyway, just for the sake of rebooting Fallout. But I like that, like even the automatic win of Liberty Prime. Like, Liberty Prime just gets nuked right at the beginning. You're just like, oh, okay. You're just like, oh, they're an actual threat, kind of thing. Like that kept me kind of engaged with wanting to complete it and wanting to explore and learn more and stuff like that. Whereas the pit, like you said, all these different choices and consequences that you have while you're going through it, and deciding to essentially how you're going to survive when you show up, because you essentially have nothing. And something I've noticed, and I want to mention this about like future Fallout stuff too, is that Bethesda seems to be really good at making short form stories, but has a much harder time when it comes to the long story of a game. Like closing the circle of the story is a lot easier when it's shorter, and I think that's just like a rule of thumb, because it's less variables thrown in at a time. But like the pit, it has the final decision, but it's only a couple of things, and then it affects everybody else depending on what you decide.
I mean, it's easy when playing to keep track of all the threads in the pit. Whereas a
Yeah.
huge RPG with millions of characters, you cannot keep track of all the threads, and you'll stop caring about a lot of them. So if the developers want to tie them up at the end, you get what feels like filler, because it's
Yeah.
not the thing you were interested in.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I'll go with the pit on it, because it's nicely tied up at the end too. And dude, having access to the ammo press is so good early on, so good. Like, that's the first DLC you should beeline to, just because you have access to the ammo press by the time you're done.
Yeah, and in Fallout 3, ammo, for me at least, Fallout 3 was the game where ammo was most difficult to come by in huge droves.
That's true.
And so I just really liked that. Plus, you couldn't just buy it so much because caps as well were difficult. There was so much to spend, which made the ammo press just all that more valuable.
Yeah. And it became way less of a resource in the future games.
Yeah.
More so of just like, I don't know, something you would sell on a regular occasion instead of try to get more of. So I guess we'll move to New Vegas. Do you want to go over the New Vegas, the legendary New Vegas DLCs?
Yeah, before we do that, a thought that popped into my head as soon as you did Liberty Prime and getting nuked and stuff. Obviously, they've brought back Liberty Prime in Fallout 4. I hope in like Fallout 5 or whatever, raiders make a huge comeback and stuff, take Liberty Prime for themselves and use it as like a giant weapon.
Oh,
because that'd be
so
such
cool.
a great way to cripple the Brotherhood, who at the end of
Yeah.
Fallout 4 are probably doing amazingly. Like, you might have blown up their ship, but they're still doing great. It's
They could take out the entirety of Boston if they wanted to.
Yeah. I want to see a raiderized version of Liberty Prime, and you fight
Dude, that would
Liberty
be
Prime.
sick.
Because that's like one of the biggest and most powerful Fallout creations ever.
And because Nuka World kind of sets that up, that could actually happen.
Yeah, raiders are
like
getting
that.
bigger and badder.
I like that, Sarge.
Bethesda, come on! Why have you not hired me yet? I think that's the biggest faux pas Bethesda have made.
Yeah,
Not got me
Not
working
hiring
on all their
Sarge.
future games.
That's great.
Well, speaking of games that I wasn't hired to work on, Fallout New Vegas, even without my help, managed to be, alright. I mean, if I'd been in there, would have been absolutely perfect. But it's DLC, I'm going to say a little hit or miss in places, but let's start with Dead Money, which I really like, and in the DLC, it's another one where you get stripped of your belongings and have an explosive tied to your neck. And are then told you need to go on a bank heist, basically. You're robbing the Sierra Madre Casino, which is being robbed by you, but you are being controlled by an ex-Brotherhood elder, which adds some nice, interesting lore stuff to it. And you have to bring your team together, a whole bunch of misfits who don't really want to work together but kind of have to and stuff, rob the Sierra Madre, and escape with all of the gold bars, not leaving any behind, because why would you leave them behind? No. What? Why, Caedo? I mean, yeah. Moral of the story, get rich or die trying.
Moral of the story, grab everything.
Yep. I'm pretty sure that's what the DLC was supposed to teach us.
The overarching theme is letting go. Like, all of these DLCs have a theme to them, and I think that's what kind of brought the whole narrative kind of to the front, because they all reference back to the main game too.
Yeah.
And tie together, which is even cooler. But yeah, I think I'm kind of with you on this one. Like, Dead Money is still probably my favorite.
One of my favourite things about Dead Money, which I'm going to say right now, is the song that goes along with it. Mm-hmm. Which turns out, I think it was like an art intern or something, did the vocals for it. Which is just incredible, because she has a beautiful voice. And it's just like, wow. That's just, we've got someone just drawing characters and stuff for us. I heard her singing in the bathroom, let's get her to be in the soundtrack or whatever.
So it's kind of like a Hellblade scenario.
Yeah, where you just... Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Just have one of your talents has a hidden gift. Yep. That you're just like, wow, I didn't expect this from you. Keep doing it.
But next up on the DLC, we have Honest Hearts, which takes you to Zion National Park. A very undesolated area, considering how exploded everything is in Fallout. You go with the... What is the name of it? Is it a Happy Trails Caravan Company?
Yes, they're an extension of the Crimson Caravan.
Yep, you head with them to Zion National Park to do some trading, and oh dear, the whole caravan gets murdered instantly. Well,
Yep.
Oh well. But in it, you meet with the Burned Man. No spoilers as to who that is, I'm sure you're all curious and have no idea that it's Joshua Graham. None of you would know that, haha, we won't tell you. Secret. And you have to decide the fate of Zion with all the different groups of tribals, which is very reminiscent of Fallout 2. Almost said Fallout 1 there. So next up as well, we have Old World Blues, which is one we've already kind of mentioned, because it is the really wacky one, where you get sent to Big Mountain, or Big MT as it's normally shortened to, and get to speak to various doctors who have put themselves as brains in jars, lobotomized you, and you have to do this whole sci-fi B-movie plot to get your brain back, which is just kinda awesome. Fight against Dr. Mobius and his army of electro-scorpions. And it's perfect. It is a perfect DLC in every way, except for the ways it's not. It's all I think I can really say about that.
It's perfect, except when it's not.
Yep. I stand by those words.
Alright, so what about Lonesome Road? What about the finale, the climax of the DLC stories?
Well, Lonesome Road is really the big, heavy story hitter in the DLCs for New Vegas. Because all of the previous DLCs actually had links to Lonesome Road as well, which I'm sure we'll be able to talk to more in a little bit. But you get contacted by Courier 6, Ulysses, and he refused to deliver the Platinum chip as part of the main story, and now wants you to come to the Divide, somewhere which has been somehow worsely affected by nukes. I mean, it's the post-apocalypse, everywhere looks pretty rough, I didn't notice much of a difference myself. But he sends you to the Divide to experience all of the horror that it's encountered for nuclear war before you have a final confrontation with him.
Yes. Which the results also can vary, which is really cool. Yeah, so Lonesome Road is like it's just a huge area full of nuclear silos, and thanks to where the area was built to begin with, I think it was built like on or near a fault line too. Something happened and all of the nukes went off underground, so that's why the Divide looks the way it does. And then all the people who are still quote unquote alive there are kind of allied with each other under anger or under like some sort of rage banner. Because it's both NCR and Legion that were turned into the Marked Men, which are basically skinless beasties.
Yeah.
That still know how to shoot guns, and it's terrifying.
They're very, very, very tough enemies to face against.
Yes. Generally, the Divide is just really tough, like it's supposed to be. Okay, so favorites. We already played favorites, right?
I have a difficulty deciding whether or not I prefer Dead Money or Old World Blues. I think I switch back and forth, because I find Dead Money is very difficult as a DLC, especially if you play on hardcore mode. If you're playing on hardcore, your health constantly drains, which is really difficult to deal with when you don't have your aid items you've stacked up on. And I kind of love and hate the difficulty at the same time, because as a challenge, it's great to go through. If you just want to play the DLC, suddenly the difficulty is like, oh god, I've got to play so slowly just to kill this one enemy.
Yeah.
And it gets a bit of a pain. And Old World Blues, the dialogue is the best in any Fallout game, I'm going to say here, in Old World Blues, because it is crazy, funny stuff, where they talk about wriggling... Oh, I can't even say that on YouTube properly on your hands. The dialogue in Old World Blues is what sells it most for me. You also get to pick up a suit, which kind of falls in love with you, and goes, do you like me? When you're just sneaking, and... that is what I love most about Old World Blues, but I also find most of the environment and quests not that compelling. So I've got caveats to those two. I can't really pick a favourite. In my top 5 list, if you want to go check that out, I did rank them, so you can see on there, but my decisions change all the time.
Yeah. So I stick to Dead Money because it hits every right point for me. Maybe minus a little bit of a negative to the exploration side of things, but the atmosphere and the characters like really make Dead Money for me. And the theme, obviously. The theme of Dead Money is letting go. We didn't really go over all the themes of the different things. The theme of Dead Money is letting go, whereas and they use a bank heist as also a metaphor of like not having gold fever, not trying to do everything all at once or take everything all at once. It's just being like, hey, just leave the rest of it and then go. Like because and they made the gold bars like 30 pounds each, so you can only carry like 3 or 4 on your character.
You're supposed to only be able to do it, but yeah, there's a couple of ways to kind of sneak them all out.
Yeah, and for those who want to do that, there's an option to do that. I never did a guide on it because I felt like it was cheating. Yeah. Anyway, the characters in Dead Money, I wanted to know more about. It didn't matter which one it was. It was like Dean Domino. Oh, he's a cool like showman type thing. But then you learn more about him. He's like, and you're like, oh, this guy's kind of a scumbag, but I still like him. and then there was Dog/God, who was a Nightkin with severe split personality that you could essentially switch on the fly and learn more about each of them and how they work. And how much they wanted to, I guess, both leave this place and kill Elijah at the same time. But there was a bit of a theme of letting go with all of the characters too, which kind of stayed consistent. And then Christine, which once you meet her, she's mute. So you get to communicate with her via hand signals, and her using expressions to speak to you. And that I don't remember that ever being in a game prior. It
was really
playing
interesting.
A game.
When we say like hand signals and expressions, it's actually text you read.
It's text you read, but it's still like you're still deciphering what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a very weird, like what do you call that?
Charade?
Charades. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And yeah, I just enjoyed Dead Money a lot. I found out that there's a lot of neat tricks that you can learn to make it much easier on yourself, even if you're playing on very hardcore mode, which I did during my Buckaroo playthrough. And one of them is either bringing God with you whenever you can, because he has the Walks in My Footsteps perk. Like they all have perks that affect the environment around you, which is really cool. But the In My Footsteps perk gives you Light Step automatically. So if there's any traps in the area, you're not going to set them off as you're walking through. And that's one of the main like scary parts about or stressful parts about the Dead Money DLC is all the traps you can walk on and just get killed by not watching where you step. And while you're, fighting ghost people at the same time, it's kind of difficult to do. The trick with ghost people is just maiming them. And you can do that. They kind of ignore their health. Just pay attention to their limb health. Yeah. So the limb with the least amount of health, you target it in VATS. You're like, oh, that one. And then once it's crippled, it just explodes and they die. The health bar is something you should pay the least attention to in the general sense. But yeah, I got to learn a lot of cool things about Dead Money because I spent a lot of time in there making guides and playing it a lot and stuff like that. And there's definitely some tricks, but the challenge is there for sure. Let's see. Second would probably be Lonesome Road for me, or maybe Old World Blues. I go back to Lonesome Road a lot more, so probably Lonesome Road.
I like Lonesome Road for Ulysses. I don't like Lonesome Road for Lonesome Road. Is the thing I always find.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. You can get some absurdly powerful gear from Lonesome Road as well, which was part of it. Dead Money, I didn't really care too much about the gear itself because, except maybe if you were playing an energy weapons character, you could get the Hollow Rifle, which is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful energy weapon in the game. Honest Hearts was probably the weakest for me, and Old World Blues was just wacky fun. I didn't take it. I don't think it was meant to be taken seriously at all in any aspect. So
there's a tiny bit of Old World Blues where you get there's a couple of serious beats, but 98% of the beats are pure comedy.
Yeah. I suppose we can go over the themes too. Like Old World Blues, they talk about it in the very intro. It's called Old World Blues because it's when you're so stuck in the past you can't see the future kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that ties into the entire like what's actually going on in Big Mountain when you arrive. And that part was really cool. I did like that because you learn a little bit about the backstories by going to their old houses, the doctors and stuff like that, and learning more about them personally and how stuck in their old ways they are by getting the different gun upgrades and stuff like that. I forgot that the pulse pistol thing that they give you.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting weapon. Honest Hearts. What was? I can't remember what the theme of that one was, really.
The name kind of suggests it again. You've got a group of tribals who generally seem to be good people, and you have to kind of make the decision of whether you're going to keep them somewhat pure and just try and sneak them out of their home, or whether the choice of them fighting back and taking lives is a worthwhile moral decision for an entire group of people to make in order to live where they are.
Like losing innocence type decision. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Honest Hearts held my attention the least amount, but I feel bad. I feel bad because like Joshua Graham was such an amazing character that got set up in the initial game, and of course Lonesome Road. Like each of the other DLCs talk about Ulysses in preparation to meet him. So like Lonesome Road is the best to play last because of that. And once you meet him, you're just like, oh my goodness. Or he communicates with you the whole time, and then you meet him face to face at the very end. Like the pacing on that one was fantastic.
Yeah. I'd say Lonesome Road gives a better ending to Fallout New Vegas than the actual ending of Fallout New Vegas, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you on that, for sure. I think one of the things I want to mention too was the item packs that came with New Vegas, because they had, if you include them, that's 2 more DLCs, which is the Courier Stash and the Gunrunner's Arsenal.
Yeah.
The Gunrunner's Arsenal not only added very expensive unique weapons to a lot of the vendors in Fallout New Vegas, but also a whole bunch of new challenges to the game that could reward experience and stuff like that, and basically just extend the life of the game if you're into like completing challenges and stuff like that. One of them was destroying or killing Deathclaws or Cazadors with like tin grenades or something like that, or like that took me so long, but I managed to pull it off, and I was really happy with myself when I did that. And of course the Courier Stash packs would give like different weapons and items based on when you started the game, basically. So extra items. I consider that cheating a lot of the time, so I ended up storing most of it in the
there's a lot of us
dumpster
who would just deposit the
outside
items. Like, I'd sometimes keep 1 or 2 items as a start, and if I was like role-playing as a character, I'd use certain bits and pieces and ditch the rest. But it did give you a huge boost at the beginning, where normally you're supposed to be giving a varmint rifle. Instead, you've got the Mercenary's grenade launcher.
Which is broken.
Yeah.
Like automatic win for a lot of the scenarios in the beginning of the game.
One of the earliest videos I think I ever put on my channel was like level 1 Deathclaw hunt, where in New Vegas I went from Doc Mitchell's house to what's the name of the place?
Quarry Junction.
I went to the outskirts of that and just blew up a Deathclaw.
That's funny.
Yep. Courier Stash is broken.
I did want to mention about the Courier Stash, though, too. A lot of the weapons and armor that comes with it are not affected by perks. I learned that with the light leather armor, even though it looks cool, looks like the classic leather armor set, it is not affected by light armor perks, at least with Travel Light. And the same with the I want to say it's the same with the weathered 10mm, that it's not affected by perks, which kind of bummed me out a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, people in the comments too. But there was a lot of wonkiness because there wasn't as much time spent on these items.
Yeah.
As opposed to the entirety of the rest of New Vegas. We talked about New Vegas a lot. How about Fallout 4? You want to talk about Fallout 4, Sarge?
Okay, there's a lot of DLC for Fallout 4, but only a few of them are big ones, so half of these are going to be very quick. First up is Automatron, which is the robotic DLC, as the name would suggest. In this you find a caravan, which is being attacked by robots, and when you go there, everyone's dead except for basically one robot called Ada, who you then learn has been hunted down by the Mechanist, who you will recall from Fallout 3 was a side character in that game. You then go through a whole bunch of quests learning about Rust Devils, a new band of Raiders. Raiders are amazing. And, sorry I got distracted, I said Raiders. Oh, Brain, what are you doing?
The Rust Devils are pretty cool. That's true. I forgot about them, but you're into Raiders, so...
Yeah, I'm too into Raiders. Like, I genuinely just said Raiders, and my brain just went, Raiders. That's just nothing else.
So you go and find some robots and robot parts, and by the end of Automatron and facing off with the Mechanist, you learn how to make robots yourself.
Yeah.
And that part is cool.
Yeah. That is, like, the best part of the DLC is the fact you can make robot companions, plus a couple of your companions, Codsworth and Curie at the start at least, can be then modified as well. And there's nothing quite as fun as turning Codsworth, your friendly little gentlemanly robot butler, into a hulking Deathclaw sentry bot. That's just pretty badass.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I can't remember with the Curie thing. Make sure that you unequip the parts that you want to keep too. By like if you're doing her story mission, because you lose all those parts if you get to that point. Let's see. Did you want to go over Wasteland Workshop too? Like the.
I think I'll mention. So there's also a few kind of construction DLCs, whereas Wasteland Workshop, Contraptions Workshop, and Vault-Tec Workshop. Let's talk about Contraptions first, I think, because that is a really, really simple one. You get a whole bunch of contraptions added to the build menu. That's it. It's just like manufacturing stuff.
Yeah, it's manufacturing and also like Rube Goldberg like mechanic type stuff.
Yeah.
So if you really like making unnecessarily like complicated mechanical things, then that's your jam.
Yeah. I think that workshop would have been better if the build limit was increased, because you can only make it so complex before you run out of build space.
Yeah. So whereas you could claim a settlement in Fallout 4, but it would only be a contraption and that's it.
Yeah. Wasteland Workshop let you capture raiders and animals in your settlements, which is pretty cool. And you could also set up arena fights, which I never got to implement as much as I would have liked, but it's just some cool stuff added to the whole workshop system, which was a really big advance Fallout 4 had.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah. I think now let's talk about Vault-Tec Workshop, because although this was kind of half a workshop DLC, it also had plot involved, because you pick up a radio beacon. You pick up some radio bacon. You go to Vault 88, and you find out that there's an overseer still alive, because she's a ghoul. And then she gets you to do a whole bunch of Vault-Tec experiments to kind of just help Vault-Tec out, because who knows, Vault-Tec apparently are still trying to do these experiments after...
Clem is the best character in the game, by the way.
Clem is the person you experiment on.
Yeah.
And boy oh boy, is he happy to help you.
He's so happy.
Yeah. It's a very short but fun DLC. You just get a whole bunch of like short additional quests, extra build stuff. Some of these things will give you actual benefits as well, like cycling I think gave you... What did it give you? I've forgotten, but you get like some bonuses through doing the experiments as well, and another vault suit, which is just nice to have.
Yeah, it's like the only unique in the entire DLC.
Yeah, it was a short DLC. That's why I wanted to go over the workshop ones quite rapidly.
Yeah.
Something that was a lot bigger though was Far Harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to take
Pretty
this
large
one,
for
Caedo?
DLC. Yeah, sure. Okay, Far Harbor takes place in the Bar Harbor area. I think that's north of the Commonwealth. So Nick Valentine gets a request to help a family in the Commonwealth, and their daughter's gone missing, and she went missing in the direction of Far Harbor. Took their boat, and she was like, I'm leaving, or something.
Yep.
So you go there to figure out what is going on, and then you're kind of caught in the middle of this like three-way battle, or three-way stalemate almost, between the residents of Far Harbor, the Children of Adam, which in Fallout 4 became much more aggressive than they were in Fallout 3.
Yeah.
And the synths in the area, the escape synths, led by somebody named Dima. And if you bring Nick Valentine with you, you can bring characters from the vanilla game over to this DLC, which is really cool. I don't think you can with Nuka World, can you? I don't think you can.
I think you can, but they actually get blocked off for some parts, if I recall correctly. Like, I don't think you can run the gauntlet and stuff with them.
Right.
But I think you can kind of explore the area with them.
Whereas in all of Far Harbor, like, you can take pretty much anybody you want and go through the entire thing with them. But of course, in Nick's case, he looks very much like Dima. So they have their own dialogue that they have if you bring him along. I think Piper does too, if you bring her. Because they're two of the main introductory story-based characters.
Yeah.
So basically you get to decide by the end, like, who survives and who dies, kind of thing. It's another one of those gray decision-making type DLCs, and I like Far Harbor a lot for that.
Yeah.
Because there's no clear-cut answer. There's going to be a loss of some kind, no matter what. So, and the atmosphere. It's another one of those atmospheric ones that, to me, feels a lot more atmospheric than a lot of the other places, because there's a lot of fog, there's a lot of like hidden things, there's a lot of things you don't discover unless you're looking hard enough, kind of thing. Yeah. There's enemies that come at you in the dark. It's fun.
Yeah. As someone who, when I first played this DLC, was still scared of the dark and not at all comfortable around water, I absolutely loved it, because it was kind of just terrifying to be anywhere on the island.
Oh, also there's a vault in there with a murder mystery, and it's great.
That's literally just a side thing that's in the DLC.
Yeah. And the area to explore is pretty big too. Like, it's a whole island.
Yeah.
It's really neat. And okay, so I understand why you asked me about Far Harbor, Sarge, because I'm sure you want to talk about Nuka World.
What if there was a place with all the cheer of Nuka... it's amazing! Nuka World. So, before I start fanboying over it, you pick up another radio broadcast, a way a lot of these start, telling you to head to the Nuka World transit station. In there, you then find a dying person. I've forgotten his name. It doesn't matter, you can kill him if you want. He's irrelevant.
I love killing him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There's a person you murder at the start of this DLC if you want to really get into the swing of things from the get-go. Then after brutally exploding the person's face, you then travel to Nuka World, a big theme park which has been taken over by raiders. However, the raiders aren't very happy with the current management, so after fighting your way through a little gauntlet with lots of traps and explosions and nasties, you get to fight Overboss Coulter. After killing him, you then become the Overboss. It's the way raiders work. It's simple and I like it. Mm-hmm. Then you are tasked with clearing Nuka World in the different zones. Is it 5 different zones?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 different zones, all themed around like Western thing, a children's giant castle play park. They've got their own little themes. You go and clear them and then dedicate that area to one of the 3 raider factions, the Disciples, the Pack, and the Operators. After you've done all of that, you eventually get Nuka World back online. You have to do some fighting with the in-factions and all of that stuff, and it just all comes back and is amazing. And I love raiders, and I can't talk about raiders without just getting too excited and losing the point, as Caedo well knows. Oh, this is my favourite DLC. I love raiders.
It is probably the most fun on the exploration side for me, because there is so much difference in the different parks.
Yeah.
There is so much to see and explore, and there is collectibles, which, is one thing that draws me to an area. The Star Cores, while they are a pain, are one of the many collectibles in there. And then there are some like hidden stuff here and there too, like the in the Nuka Caedo.
Yeah, the Nuka Caedo.
You can get some different things, and then blueprints for those things to make them less lame.
Yeah,
in a way, just for having them sake, kind of thing. Yeah. When it comes to the squirt gun, I think Caedo is a temporary companion.
Yes.
But we should mention too that both Nuka World and Far Harbor have companions that can just come with you no matter what.
Yeah.
Through the rest of the game, which is really cool.
Yeah. Plus, you can actually make those companions hostile to you quite easily by siding with the wrong factions, basically.
Yep.
Which is something I loved, and I want to see more of in future Fallout games, because I want companions to try and murder me. Just like in real life.
One of the things on the gameplay side, I did have a complaint about Nuka World, the gauntlet itself.
I refuse to listen to this.
Okay.
No, carry on.
Well, it's not with Nuka World as a whole. It's with a particular enemy type. It was the wall-mounted laser turrets that have this like severely overpowered armor ignoring type thing going on, and it becomes compounded when you're playing survival mode because you're already taking a crap ton more damage. When you go through the gauntlet itself, it has quite a few of those wall-mounted laser turrets just in one room, and if you stand out there for even like close to a second, you're just dead. Like you have to lob grenades until they die, kind of thing.
I just shot them.
Yeah.
Stealthy. Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah. Wait, do you play in survival mode too?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I liked that bit because they were quite so dangerous. And if you're tactical, you can work your way without getting like shot once and just pop up, shoot it a few times, especially on survival mode where you deal extra damage. I really loved that because it was a case of you have to just go through and be quick on the draw when you move to each spot.
Yeah. The problem that I had though was like, out of everything else, they were like 100 to 200% more powerful than everything else.
They are very strong.
Just wall turrets. Everything else was fine. But the wall turrets drove me crazy. I think Kitty Kingdom was probably one of the most challenging too for a survival character because of the amount of radiation you take.
Yeah, there's a lot of rads. A lot of fairly close quarters things as well. Which, if you're playing melee, perfect. If, like me, you tend to play as a sniper, not quite so great.
Yeah, it was... during the Fallout 4 playthrough, I was playing the 2-timer, and that was very challenging because I had to either pacify the enemy or run away and shoot. And it was difficult. I made a death montage of just Nuka World in one of the Caedo's casualties, I think. But yeah, I liked the choices between the factions too. That you got to choose like who ends up in the end, and then who you have to face off with. And each of the leaders were kind of interesting and fun. Had their own thing going on. Also, the legendaries you get.
Well, you call them legendaries. They were uniques. Well, no, actually, they were legendaries at that point, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they're uniques in air quotes because you could get guaranteed legendary drops in the game, including like the I can't remember the name of it, but there's a knife which does like tons of damage and stuff. And the most important one is Splatter Cannon, which is a furious handmade rifle, which is basically just one of the most powerful guns in the entire game. Like
it was Splatter Cannon and something else. There's two of them.
Problem Solver.
Problem Solver.
Yeah, one of them. I think it's Problem Solver. You can buy from a Nuka World market. It's incredibly expensive, but it should be. If anything, I'd have said double the price, make it nearly impossible to buy. Because Splatter Cannon you get from basically being kind of a jerk and asserting your dominance to the leader of a pack, which is really nice, because it gets you in the raid of theme of things. you have to pass some very difficult speech checks, which rewards you having high charisma, even in a DLC which is very much about just killing lots of stuff and being ruthless. And it's a really good reward you can get basically straight away if you're just going full out on the raider.
Oh, it's the other way around, by the way.
Is it?
Problem solvers from what's his name, and then spotting cannons from the vendor. They're both the same rifle. So.
Yeah, it's literally a different paint job, which you can modify anyway.
Yeah, but the handmade rifles came in from Nuka World as well, which they're just fun to use.
Yeah,
in general, and look cool too. Like the stock can be a shovel handle.
Yep.
They definitely look like they're thrown together weapons. And not garbage like pipe weapons.
Yeah, they're an evolution of pipe weapons, which is pipe weapons are like, well, clearly someone who doesn't know how to make a gun has made this. You can clearly tell that the handmade rifle has been made by someone who knows how to make guns, but is just dealing with very limited resources because it's post-apocalypse. And I think we should probably wrap it up there, because
probably a good idea.
Caedo's just had to edit me out for a bit there. It's got crazy at the end, people. So thank you very much for making it to the end, because we barely did.
Yeah, barely. I would like to ask everybody, reiterate that, we like discussing things like this in the Fallout topics section. We put a poll up on the upper right-hand side of the video. Just click the info card button, and you'll be able to choose, do you like having the Fallout topic be sooner, or the news being where it is, and then the Fallout topic being later? We do have timestamps on screen too, so there's the ability to skip ahead. But I'm wondering what placement would be better for these kinds of things, because we still spend a whole lot of time talking about Fallout, usually longer than the news section, which I still prefer. So what do you think? And also, we want to know what your all-time favorite DLC is as a whole. Dead Money still is kind of at the top for me. So. And Sarge did a video on his. Yep.
So if you watch my video, you can find out which one it is, which you probably have already realised.
Yeah. And that's it. I hope to catch up with all of you in probably more like 3 weeks than 2 weeks, because The Outer Worlds is coming out. We're going to be going hard on trying to complete the game and also trying to make videos on it. It's a nice, fun, chaotic time of existence.
Yep, because both of us will be uploading quite so many videos, do make sure if you want to watch all of them, you are definitely subscribed and have definitely clicked the notification bell. YouTube can send you, if you allow it, email notifications, which is often how I realise if I've missed content, and also just the little, when you log into YouTube on desktop and stuff, you'll be notified on there in the little notification symbol. So do that if you want to be notified that way, or like I said before, our Discord servers, we let you know when we put a video up, just because that's often an easy way to do it. We also have Twitter and stuff, there's a lot of different ways you can learn if we're making content.
Yes.
So,
follow us on all the things.
Yep.
And notify the bell stuff. Whatever. The bell's important. I don't like that it's important. Anyway, I hope all of you have a good rest of your next few weeks. I hope you have some fun with The Outer Worlds if that's your jam. And be safe, everyone. Eat some healthy snacks and go outside every week or so.
More often than that, please.
Take care, everybody.